The driver shouted, "Don't open the window, the lion is coming!" But it was too late. One snap of the camera would cost her everything. She was an award-winning photographer, a rising star who traveled the world to capture the beauty of nature and the raw power of the wild. From the icy terrain of Iceland to the savannas of South Africa, her lens told stories of endangered species, untamed wilderness, and the fragile line between human and beast. But on June 1st, 2015, in a wildlife park just outside Johannesburg, that line was crossed. She came seeking a rare photograph of Africa's apex predator, the lion. What she didn't know was that the lion had already seen her. One window left open, one rule ignored, one moment that changed everything. The last shot she took would be her own. This is The Last Moments of Wildlife Photographer Jenna Clarke. You're watching Animal Quests. If you're passionate about wildlife, survival stories, and the untold dangers lurking in nature, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who thinks they understand the wild. She wasn't just a tourist with a camera. Jenna Clarke was a 29-year-old professional wildlife photographer, known for her breathtaking work capturing rare species in remote corners of the world. Born and raised in London, she had worked with several conservation nonprofits, blending activism with artistry. Her photos were more than beautiful. They were powerful, raw, and deeply human. Her peers described her as fearless, methodical, and deeply respectful of nature. One colleague would later say, she wasn't a tourist. She knew the rules, but lions don't follow them. In early May of 2015, Jenna announced on her social media that she'd be traveling to South Africa for a 2-week solo assignment. She planned to document the behaviors of African big cats for a new conservation campaign. Her followers watched with anticipation as she posted photos of flight tickets, camera gear, and annotated maps of the Johannesburg region. By the end of the month, she boarded a plane from Heathrow to OR Tambo International Airport. From there, she made her way to the outskirts of Johannesburg, to a place known as Lion Park. Just 30 kilometers from the city, Lion Park was a popular wildlife attraction where visitors could drive their own vehicles through large enclosures filled with lions, cheetahs, and other predators. Though promoted as a controlled environment, it was not a zoo. The animals were not behind fences, they roamed freely, and the danger, while downplayed, was very real. For Jenna, Lion Park was supposed to be the easy part of her trip, a warm-up shoot before venturing into the harsher wild. She had arrived with high-end DSLR cameras, telephoto lenses, and a vision to capture an image that would challenge the world's complacency about lion conservation. But in her pursuit of the perfect shot, Jenna would come closer to the king of beasts than she had ever imagined, and closer than anyone ever should. Lion Park, located in Gauteng province, just 30 kilometers outside of Johannesburg, was a unique place. Unlike South Africa's national parks, where strict rules kept tourists in their vehicles at all times, Lion Park allowed visitors to drive through the enclosures, getting up close and personal with the lions. The animals were habituated to cars, used to the sight of tourists snapping photos from the safety of their vehicles. But there was an unspoken truth about this. Habituation didn't make the lions less dangerous. It made them more unpredictable. Jenna knew this. She'd spent years working with animals, and she was familiar with the risks. But this was her chance to get the shot, the one that could define her career. She wasn't just a tourist looking for a glimpse of the wild. She was there with a purpose, to document the lives of these powerful predators for a documentary feature that would showcase their majesty, their strength, and their role in the ecosystem. On this particular day, she opted for a self-guided drive-through tour of the lion enclosure. It was meant for tourists, not seasoned professionals like Jenna, but she believed she knew the park, the lions, and the safety measures. She felt confident. Jenna's Jeep rolled slowly through the park's dirt roads, surrounded by vast open spaces. She saw lions lounging in the tall grass, their golden fur blending with the earth beneath them. But one lion stood out, a large male lion, his mane thick and dark, his eyes sharp and watchful. He was the perfect subject for a close-up shot. Without hesitation, Jenna made the decision to get closer. She rolled down her window, just a few inches, to capture the perfect photograph of the male lion. It was a risky move, but Jenna felt certain she could handle it. She'd done it before in other wildlife sanctuaries, and the lions had always been calm. As she focused the camera on the lion, unaware of the danger creeping closer, she didn't see the guide in the next car waving frantically at her to stop. The warning came too late. The windows were down. The park's rules, which had been clearly outlined before entering, were being ignored. The lion, who had been resting just a few feet away, suddenly shifted. His eyes locked onto Jenna, and in that instant, the world around her seemed to shrink. The air grew still. What had once been a moment of wonder now turned into a silent tension. The guide's warning, now lost to the wind, was ignored, and Jenna's focus remained solely on the lion in front of her. She didn't see the shift in his posture, didn't feel the subtle danger in the air. Her lens, once a tool for capturing beauty, was now framing a predator preparing to strike. The lion's muscles tensed, his eyes never leaving her. It was too late to take the shot she had planned. The moment of reckoning had arrived, but Jenna didn't see it coming. The lion that day was a 2-year-old male, large for his age, but still in the prime of his youthful strength. He had been in the park for several months, and like many of the lions in Lion Park, he had grown accustomed to the presence of vehicles. But unlike most, this lion had a history. He had been involved in several mock charges where he would charge at tourists for a brief moment before backing off. It was thrilling for the visitors, but also a sign of the lion's playful and unpredictable nature. What Jenna didn't know, though, was that this behavior, while seemingly harmless, had desensitized the lion to human presence. It wasn't a sign of affection or curiosity anymore. It was the first clue of something far more dangerous. As Jenna steadied her camera, her focus entirely on the lion, the world outside her Jeep had become a blur. The only thing she could see was that powerful animal, its eyes locked on hers. It was a deadly game of predator versus prey, and Jenna, unknowingly, had just crossed the line. It happened in an instant. According to an eyewitness, it was quiet, too quiet. The typical sounds of the safari park, the rustling of grass, the occasional chatter of birds, were absent, as if the world itself held its breath. Then, without warning, the lion lunged. In one swift, powerful motion, the lion shot forward and thrust its massive head through the open window of the Jeep. It happened so fast that there was no time to react. The camera flew from Jenna's hands, clattering against the side of the vehicle, as the lion's jaws locked onto her arm with terrifying precision. The sound of the lion's roar and the frantic screams from Jenna filled the air. The driver of the Jeep, horrified, slammed his foot on the accelerator, trying to pull away from the lion's reach. But the predator was too quick, its claws digging into the side of the vehicle as it yanked Jenna closer. As the driver struggled to free her, the lion's grip tightened. Blood began to spread across the side of the vehicle, staining the dusty frame. Jenna's screams were drowned out by the low, menacing growl of the lion, a sound that sent shivers down anyone who heard it. The life-threatening chaos was unfolding too quickly for anyone to stop. Within minutes, park rangers rushed to the scene, their vehicles roaring down the dirt paths. One ranger fired a warning shot in the air, hoping to scare the lion off. But by then, it was too late. The lion, now in full predatory mode, had already made its move. Jenna's injuries were severe, and despite the ranger's best efforts, she was pronounced dead at the scene. The 66-year-old tour driver, though shaken and injured, managed to survive. He was rushed to a hospital, but his injuries were minor compared to what Jenna had endured. His life had been spared. But for Jenna, the dream of capturing Africa's most elusive predator had tragically ended in the blink of an eye. The news of Jenna Clarke's tragic death spread quickly, sending shockwaves through the world of wildlife photography, conservation, and tourism. The incident was reported by major news outlets worldwide, each offering their own analysis of what had happened. What began as a tragic accident soon sparked a broader conversation about the safety of safari parks and the risks of human-wildlife interaction. The news channel reported, a tragic incident has claimed the life of an award-winning wildlife photographer in South Africa's Lion Park. Jenna Clarke, 29, was attacked and killed by a lion while photographing the animal from her Jeep. Authorities are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death. South African news outlets emphasize the tension between tourism and conservation, with many questioning whether Lion Park's safety measures were adequate. The incident quickly went viral as people from all over the world reacted with disbelief, grief, and outrage. Experts weighed in on the unfolding situation. One wildlife expert, who requested to remain anonymous but was familiar with the park's operations, commented, "Lions in safari parks, especially those that are habituated to human presence, become desensitized to vehicles. They don't see the cars as threats anymore. They see them as obstacles, like any other piece of the landscape. And when you introduce an open window, it's like a door opening to an animal that doesn't think twice about the consequences." The expert's comments shed light on a crucial issue: habituation. Lions, like many wild animals in safari parks, had become so used to the sight of tourists that their natural caution around humans had diminished. The park's rules, which were designed to keep both tourists and animals safe, were often ignored by visitors who felt the lure of getting just one more perfect shot. But the tragic death of Jenna Clarke made it painfully clear that these rules existed for a reason. In the aftermath of the attack, South African authorities launched an investigation into the safety protocols at Lion Park. Was the park's management doing enough to ensure the safety of its visitors? Were the staff properly trained? And how could something like this happen in an environment where wildlife experts and park officials were well aware of the potential dangers posed by habituated predators? The public's outrage was noticeable. Why was the window down, people asked. Who's responsible for this? The questions flooded social media, news outlets, and discussion forums. Some argued that the park's lax policies regarding close contact with the lions had played a role in the tragedy, while others pointed the finger at the driver who had failed to enforce the safety rules. But the fact remained that Jenna, a seasoned wildlife professional, had made the decision to disregard those rules, and it had cost her life. The incident also raised wider concerns about the ethics of wildlife photography in controlled environments. Was it responsible to put oneself so close to a dangerous predator for the sake of a photo? Could more have been done to ensure that both the visitors and the animals remained at a safe distance? These questions lingered long after the immediate shock had worn off. Jenna's death served as a grim reminder of the unpredictability of wild animals, even those in controlled settings. It also exposed the vulnerability of human beings when they failed to respect the boundaries of the natural world. In the days and weeks that followed Jenna Clarke's death, tributes poured in from across the globe. Her final photos, captured in the wilds of Africa, became her lasting legacy. Images that had once conveyed a deep respect and love for nature, now serving as a stark reminder of the dangers she faced in pursuit of her passion. At her memorial service in London, her family spoke of her love for wildlife and her dedication to conservation. Her mother, in a tearful eulogy, said, "Jenna wasn't careless. She wasn't reckless. She was passionate. So passionate about the creatures she photographed, about the planet she wanted to protect. But in the end, one decision in lion country can't be undone." The words echoed in the hearts of all who heard them, underscoring the tragic reality that even the most experienced wildlife professionals can fall victim to the unpredictability of nature. Jenna's life, cut short by the very predators she had spent years studying and photographing, left a gaping hole in the world of wildlife photography. In the wake of her death, a message resonated loud and clear. Wildlife is wild. No photo, no moment is worth your life. Respect the rules. Respect the predators. Jenna's story became a cautionary tale for all who sought to get closer to nature's most dangerous creatures. A reminder that no matter how familiar you are with the rules or how well you understand the risks, the wild will always retain its power to surprise. As her loved ones mourned and the world reflected on the cost of a single moment's decision, her legacy lived on in the work she had left behind. The images of lions, elephants, and the beauty of the African landscape, each one capturing the soul of the wilderness she so dearly loved. The story of Jenna Clarke reminds us of a simple truth. No photograph, no documentary is worth the ultimate sacrifice. Respect the wilderness. Respect the creatures that roam it. For in the blink of an eye, the wild can turn. If you found Jenna's story as moving and powerful as we did, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more documentaries on the wild. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below and let us know what you think about the risks of wildlife photography and the lessons we can learn from Jenna's tragic story. Wildlife is wild. Respect the rules. Respect the predators.